Have you ever wondered what lives far, far below the surface of the ocean?
Yes. No. Maybe?
In any case, join Oscar and I and our guest, Captain Boots, the now retired ship's cat on the MS Oceanic Freightmaster, as we investigate this intriguing and interesting topic. One we promised in our most recent video with the captain, where we discussed aquariums cats can interact with and enter. If that interests you, the video will be linked in the description down below.
Also, Captain Boots has appeared on the show before this, joining us when we discuss the history of his trade, ship's cat. If that interests you, it will be linked in the description too.
Now, with all this said,
I'm Whiskers.
I'm Oscar.
I'm Captain Boots, and
Let's get started.
The deep sea is a very extreme environment, and it means that deep sea species often look a bit weird compared to shallow water relatives.
Ever see anything like these on your travels, Captain?
No. Never anything like these. I was unfortunately only blessed with the opportunity to sight more, let's say, common creatures than these. But the most exotic animal I witnessed was a blue whale, but nothing like what was shown here.
You've seen a blue whale in the wild. Cool.
Not really surprised. These creatures live deep, deep below the surface. It's unlikely, more so improbable you'd see them from the ship's deck.
Cats do have superior eyesight to humans. We can spot objects and creatures from further away than them, but you're probably right, too far below the surface, even for cats.
Here are some of the weirdest animals in the deep sea. Firstly, one of the most famous weird deep sea animals, the blobfish.
I've heard many humans talk about these online. I've also seen a quite famous and weird stock photo of a man holding one, with a very uncomfortable look on the man's face. Want to see it?
Sure, why not?
Sounds interesting. Let's see.
Okay.
You described it perfectly. This is a tad odd, yet interesting.
Wait, I remember this. Let me check something real quick. As I thought, as far as I understand, this isn't actually a stock photo, rather, a statue from Australian artist Patricia Piccinini's 2011 art piece named Eulogy.
Oh,
Really?
This sculpture was created to bring awareness to the endangered nature of the animal at the time, due to them being accidentally captured and brought to the surface through crab trawling, starting in the 1980s.
Really?
that's sad.
However, today, it's unclear whether or not this is still the case. Some saying the blobfish is endangered, while others stating otherwise.
That's sad. I hope the latter is true. They may not be the prettiest animal I've ever seen, but they're still cute in their own way. They don't deserve to go extinct.
Wow, okay. I thought it was just a fun, silly photo. I didn't know it had all this history behind it. But anyway, back to the video. I thought it was intriguing, and I hope you, the viewers, enjoyed it too.
It doesn't actually look that weird. One of the ways the deep sea environment is extreme is the high pressure. So shallow water fish have swim bladders for buoyancy, but high pressures compressing this would make it useless. So the deepest deep sea fish instead have jelly-like flesh that is lighter than water. And this is why the blobfish looks so weird when we bring it to the surface. It actually looks like a normal fish when it's in the deep sea.
I didn't know that.
It makes sense when you think about it. If we visited the blobfish's habitat, we'd look odd too. The blobfish is no different.
Surprisingly, I didn't know the ocean had different pressures. But you don't really think about this, since most humans only interact with relatively shallow ocean, and cats none at all. Yet, I remember hearing members of the Freightmaster's crew discussing after a swim how the deeper they went, the colder the water became. I know it probably has nothing to do with water pressure, but it does show that the deeper you go, the water has a tendency to change, and change quite drastically as well.
Right. It's strange that it looks so different. The one at the beginning and Piccinini's artwork is all pink and fleshy, while the one in the ocean is scaly and fish-colored. I know that's the point, but the contrast is so startling, it's hard to believe they're the same animal.
To be fair, you can tell they're both blobfish, but you're not wrong. They are definitely different. There must be something in this water pressure thing.
You're not wrong.
Snailfishes are a group of fish found all the way from shallow waters into the deep sea. In fact, the very deepest fish may be the Mariana snailfish, found at 8,178 meters in the Mariana Trench, though very recently an unknown snailfish was found at 8,336 meters in a different trench.
For 100, that's a lot.
It is. Cats have 40, but the most are beetles with 400,000, and the least are Homo sapiens with only one, known as humans.
Humans? They're not animals, are they?
Yes, they are part of the animal kingdom just like us.
The captain's right, but don't worry. Many humans forget this too. Some categorize living things into 3 categories: humans, animals like us, and plants. Yes, they're alive, in case you didn't know. Although it's really animals and plants. As the captain said, humans are part of the animal kingdom. They're just higher up than every other animal. Anyway, back to the video.
Yes, let's not get distracted. It's interesting that these snailfish live in both biomes of the ocean, shallow and deep. It seems from the blobfish that isn't possible, since it completely changes its form when brought out of the deep sea.
I noticed that. There must be a reason. Do you know Captain Boots?
Not really. You'd think it's something complex like they help clean the ocean floor of toxins or something. But it's actually simply to do with the 400-ish species, as some live in more shallow water and others live in more deep water.
That's underwhelming.
Makes sense. There's a lot of different snailfish, and it's not surprising that they live in different parts of the ocean.
And the deepest snailfishes are so jelly-like that if we brought them up to the surface, they would melt.
Well then.
That's sad. I think we should leave them alone.
Yes, I don't think melting is healthy nor good for them.
The deepest octopuses are the Dumbo octopuses.
That's cute.
Yes, I know a lot of people would like to have one as a pet, if that was a thing.
Same.
I'd also say it must be named after Dumbo the elephant, the title character from the classic animated film.
Oh, I see it. It's because Dumbo used his ears to fly, and this octopus those fins on its head to swim, which look like Dumbo's ears. I see it. That's cute.
Yes, I see the similarities. That's neat.
A group of serrata octopus. So there are 2 types of octopus, inserrata and serrata.
That doesn't look like the first.
The first was small and cute, and this is not as small and cute.
Do you know, Captain, what the difference is between inserrata and serrata?
I'm afraid not. They're not terms I've ever heard before. My guess is they refer to different types of octopuses who live in different kinds of water, similar to the snail fishes from before.
Interesting theory. The inserrata or serrata live in shallow waters, and either the inserrata or serrata live in deep waters. Like you, Captain. I'm unsure which is which.
Let's stop guessing and theorizing, and just watch the video.
Serrata typically live in the deep sea, and the high pressure means they can't move by jet propulsion like the typically shallow water inserrata, and so they have 2 little fins on their head which they use to move.
Well, there we are. My theory was correct.
Yes, I had a feeling that was the angle they were going for. It only made sense with that setup.
Not bad, you two. Not bad at all.
Another way the deep sea environment is extreme is the lack of sunlight, so many deep sea animals have evolved large eyes to absorb as much light as possible.
Makes sense. Not a whole lot of light. The further you go below the surface, you would need massive eyes to absorb as much sunlight as you can get.
Hard to get your fins on down there. Light's a scarce resource in their world.
They are perfectly equipped for their environment. Nature has a way of doing that.
Like the vampire squid has the largest eyes of any animal proportional to its body size. This isn't actually a squid, it's the only species that is in between a squid and an octopus. Some deep sea fish with large eyes are the grenadiers, the hatchetfish, and the tube-eye fish. And the barrel eyes are a family of deep sea fish that, as well as having large tube eyes, have a transparent dome-shaped head that helps them to absorb even more light.
Those are some big eyes.
Big eyes, cool. We've been through that. I'm more interested in this transparent stuff. Sounds curious.
I noticed that among the talks of big eyes. That is interesting.
I never encountered any transparent creatures during my time with the Freightmaster, although their transparent nature means I may have just missed them.
The lack of light is also why so many deep sea creatures are transparent. They don't need pigment to protect them from UV damage, and so you get animals like the glass octopus, glass squids, and sea angels.
Interesting. More ways for them to absorb light, as it seems light really is an extremely obscure thing in the deep sea.
If 2 aspects of your genetics are specifically designed for you to absorb as much light as possible, it certainly must be Also, what is UV? I've heard the term before, but what does it mean?
UV stands for ultraviolet, and it's a form of radiation that comes from the sun, something these creatures don't get much of. It causes humans to get sunburnt when their skin goes red in places, and too much exposure gives them a higher chance of developing skin cancer. Despite these negatives, UV is important for vitamin D and used by humans in many everyday things, so it's a mix of good and bad. UV is also important for cats and other animals for vitamin D2, and many others needs, just like humans.
Thanks, Captain. Good to know. I wonder if we didn't need UV, would we have transparent heads and even bodies?
Probably.
If they have, we probably would too.
Weird.
Since the lack of sunlight in the deep sea means photosynthesis doesn't occur, another way the deep sea environment is extreme is the lack of food. Many deep sea animals rely on eating dead plants, animals, and animal waste that falls from shallower waters.
Lovely.
Doesn't sound pleasant. I'm glad I live here and not there.
We have it good. We shouldn't forget this.
The vampire squid has 2 long filaments that are covered in mucus to collect any tiny food particles that may float past. And the big fin squid may use its long tentacles that are 20 times the length of its body to feed in a similar way.
I'm glad I don't have to do anything like this to eat. These sound, well, tedious.
Right. I much prefer eating with my mouth and tongue.
Same.
Though you don't get photosynthesis in the deep sea, at hydrothermal vents you can find giant 2-meter worms with no mouth or digestive tract who have a sac of symbiotic bacteria that carry out chemosynthesis for them.
They look all right.
I'd rather continue with my current diet, but as you say, these do not look half bad.
I personally would prefer my regular cat food, but you're right, these forms don't look too bad.
Another strategy is to be able to eat bigger prey so that you can eat whatever prey you come across. The gulper eel can inflate its mouth like a balloon to be able to swallow prey much bigger than itself. The black swallower also uses this strategy. Its balloon-like stomach means it can swallow prey up to 4 times bigger than itself. But just because you can doesn't always mean you should. If they swallow prey that is too big, then decomposition sets in before they finish digesting it, and this releases gases that force them all the way up to the surface. In fact, this is how most specimens were collected.
There's always a downside, isn't there?
Unfortunately so. So far, this is the most time-effective and convenient way to eat in the deep sea. Yet, if you overindulge, it could cost you your life.
Yet in saying such, it would stop you overeating, which is good.
Yes, that is a positive. Something I should definitely look into. I need it.
The fangtooth has the largest teeth of any fish proportional to its body size, again so that it can catch bigger prey. And despite looking so scary, it's only about 18 centimeters or 7 inches, and also looks much cuter as a juvenile. The viperfish also has large teeth for the same purpose.
I don't get it. How does having massive teeth help you eat massive prey?
You've kind of answered your own question. They have the teeth of an animal twice their size, so they can eat creatures twice their size.
Makes sense. It's like the ones from before, but instead of a massive stomach, they have massive teeth. Cool.
And the stoplight loose jaw has a hinged jaw, again so that it can catch bigger prey.
A lot of these animals have over-exaggerated features, tentacles, stomach, teeth, and now jaw.
Yes.
Yes, seems useful considering the lack of resources. Best to stock up while you can.
The hairy anglerfish has a stomach that expands, so again it can swallow prey bigger than itself, and it's also covered in antennae which enable it to detect the movement of prey nearby.
The hairy anglerfish has 2 of these features. They have the gulper eels and black swallower's enlarged stomach, and the bigfin squid's elongated tentacles.
Yes, their lucky luthers have to rely on one of these. Well, they have options.
Yes, very lucky.
But the main strategy of anglerfish to deal with the lack of food is a lure to attract prey. This lure is found in shallow water anglerfish like frogfish, but in the deep sea species it glows because of a sac of bioluminescent bacteria. The whip-nose anglerfish has a particularly long lure, coffinfish have very short lures, and the illuminated net devil and football anglerfish have very fancy lures. And the barbelled dragonfish is another species that uses a bioluminescent lure to attract prey.
The anglers have a little torch on their heads, probably the only reliable source of light in the deep sea.
Don't forget about the barbelled dragonfish. They've got a lure too.
I forgot about them. Sorry. I didn't know the anglers and barbelled dragonfish's light, or lure as it's actually known, has so many variations.
I didn't know there were so many variations of anglerfish. There's almost as many as cats.
There is. I especially like the frogfish. They look cute.
Another way the deep sea environment is extreme is that it is sparsely populated. So not only can it be rare to come across food in the deep sea, it can also be rare to come across a member of the same species to mate with.
So the food situation isn't as dire as we originally thought. However, the opportunity to, well, yeah, is a little more difficult than one would like.
Right. The options for yes aren't exactly plentiful. That can't be good for their population.
I hope the gender dispersion is equal, because the lack of life down there could lead to some species dying out forever. That would be sad. Let's hope each find their special someone.
So there are lots of weird deep sea animals, especially lots of weird deep sea fish. But we have to remember that looking this way has enabled them to live in a very extreme environment, and that they only look weird to us, where we see squashed things with weird body parts and big scary teeth. To each other, when they're in the deep sea, they're normal shaped, beautiful things that glow and drift and smell nice. And if you put a human down in their extreme environment, well, we would look very weird.
As Captain Boots said before, they are perfectly equipped for their environment. Each and every one of these creatures has exactly what they need to live and thrive in the deep sea.
And as the video stated, if you put a human or cat down in their extreme environment, well, we humans would look very weird. This is no different for us cats too. If you placed us or a human in the deep sea, it's possible we may resemble something like the blobfish we saw at the beginning. The pink blobby blobfish, not the scaly one. Keep this in mind next time you see a deep-sea creature on land.
Too close, these animals may look interesting to us who live on land, but their unique characteristics and attributes, such as having massive tentacles, stomachs, teeth, and jaws, allow them to prosper and survive in these sometimes rough and harsh conditions. Adding to this is the lack of food and nourishment in the deep sea. Although this setback is lower due to the low population that resides down there, yet this low population could lead to many, if not all, deep-sea creatures facing extinction. This possibility is seemingly from no fault of humans or any other animals. Rather, it's just a natural consequence of living so far, far below the surface. Let's appreciate these animals in their natural habitats, or on the surface in their less attractive form, because all deep-sea creatures are beautiful in their own grotesquely wonderful way. Well, that's all from us.
Comment your thoughts on the video and tell us what facts surprised you the most, and which animals from the video are your favorite.
Or just comment any of your suggestions for other videos you would like us to cover next.
Tap or click all the buttons and drop us a follow for more educational and entertaining content like this.
But until next time,
I'm Whiskers.
I'm Oscar.
I'm Captain Boots, and
Bye.
bye.